So, as introduced, my name is Saruni Maina, and I'm the Regional Operations Lead for Binance in Africa. I am tasked with product expansion within the continent as well as government relations. So, today I'm grateful to be here. It's actually my first time in Dar, so very excited about that. But beyond that, I was tasked with answering this very interesting question. Can crypto remittances solve Africa's cross-border payment crisis? For anyone within the fintech space already, you have this answer. You know it's a yes, not a simple yes, but a yes. You know, I had the mention of Nala earlier on, and Nala are very good friends, and I know Nala is one of the proud exports from Tanzania, especially in the remittance and the fintech space. And if you look at recent news, Nala signed a deal where they were to use stablecoins to power their remittances, and this was just them officially announcing what they've been doing at the background for years and months. So let's see. Thank you. Yeah. So, what are the remittance challenges in Africa? The problem landscape itself. You know, when you're trying to send money, even let's say for example, from Kenya to Tanzania. Right now, there's various options that you can use. You know, M-Pesa being one of the larger ones. So, naweza tuma from my M-Pesa ya Safaricom pale Kenya to M-Pesa ya Vodacom hapa Tanzania. And the few times I've traveled to Tanzania, that's actually how I've done it. You know, without having to download a new application, but simply moving from one M-Pesa wallet to another M-Pesa wallet. And this works seamlessly because there's a partnership between Vodacom and Safaricom, allowing this kind of transaction. Now, I want whoever has any form of Momo here in Tanzania, to try send money to South Africa. Secondly, go to your bank. Try send that money from your bank. Hata send the money to Uganda, ama hata to Kenya. Bank. For those who tried, you know it's not an easy task, right? For the banks even who support that, for example, UBA, I know UBA are quite good with cross-border. But even the banks that support that, it's not seamless. You know, lazima upitie steps kama 3-4, upatiane blood sacrifice kidogo, useme reasons kwa nini unatuma pesa. It's not as simple as kwenda kwa wakala na kutuma pesa, transaction inamalizika within a few seconds. But again, as I mentioned, those in the fintech space, sure that this can be made very easy. Can be made very easy, but it's not easy because of a few things. You know, the technicalities, regulatory environment. I don't know how many of you do crypto of any sort. Whether you're a trader, umenunua ukaweka, you have some Bitcoin somewhere. This is not financial advice. Nauliza tu. So, first, why does remittance matter? Okay, I'm going to skip on the what cryptocurrencies are because I'm assuming at least najua crypto, right? Kuna mtu ajui crypto at all? Like uko zero, nil, sufuri, no idea about crypto. Kuna watu naona pale. Okay, for the sake of those who are shy and you don't want to raise your hand, cryptocurrencies are digital versions of money, and I'm using money very loosely. That's not the official understanding, but to make it easy for someone who's never heard of cryptocurrency, it's a digital version of money. A good example for the Tanzanians in the room, the best example, and something that we can very equally say crypto inafanana na hii. ni think about it kama mobile money, kama wakala. Si ndio? Unaenda kwa wakala unampatia Tanzania shillings, alafu unaiona kwa simu yako. Balance yako imeongezeka, let's say imekuwa 100,000 Tanzania shillings. What you have on your phone is not real physical money, but a representation of value. So that is the best example ya cryptocurrency. Nataka kuifikiria. It is a representation of value, and if I was to trade with you today, and you accept Bitcoin, and I have Bitcoin, nitakupatia Bitcoin value yenye tumekubaliana, unakubali malipo yako na unasonga. So that is also why there is a lot of interest from government about cryptocurrency. Because from the regulatory side, from monetary policy side, there is both good things and bad things. It's not all a bed of roses. I know what we are crypto, we all like to believe that everything crypto is good. But the truth is, there's always a bad side to something. But fortunately for us, we are not here to talk about the regulatory side. We're here to talk about how you, as a fintech practitioner, as someone trying to innovate within the fintech space, you can leverage crypto and be able to build on top of what already exists. So for today, allow me to not talk about Bitcoin, but we talk about stablecoins. So stablecoins in this particular case is even more equitable, ama tunaweza ifananisha zaidi na wakala ile kwa simu yako, hiyo pesa iko kwa simu yako. Because what you get as your balance on, let's say for example, MTN Momo, or on M-Pesa, or even on Mix. I didn't even know Mix had rebranded. What you get as a balance is what we are calling a token. As I said earlier, it's a representation of the value ulipeana kwa wakala, about the value that someone sent to you. Stablecoins work exactly the same way. Wale wanajua crypto, you know there's something in crypto we call volatility. Ile chart ya inaenda kama when doctors represent your heartbeat, up down, up down, up down. Right now, crypto market go up and down, you know. So if you know you have crypto friends who invested, please check on your friends. Tuma tu salamu, hata ukiweza tuma pesa kidogo. Kumsalimia. Things are not looking good. But stablecoins, unlike normal crypto like Bitcoin, are more stable. And the most popular stablecoins we have in the world are the USD-backed stablecoins. And the reason they became very popular was because of this small thing where for anything, for you to do any form of trade or money movement, the global reserve currency was always the dollar. Right? We are seeing that change, hence why I'm speaking in past tense. Right? But we still know in a lot of our industries, the dollar is more accepted than any other currency. If you wanted to travel today to hapa kwenda hata Ghana, for example, the Tanzania shillings will not be accepted in Ghana. So what do we usually normally do? I convert my TZS for euro, napatiwa dollar. Ikifika Ghana, I convert the dollar into Ghana cedis, then vice versa, and I'm coming back. But there was always a shortage of the dollar because, again, it's not our native currency. It's a reserve currency for a lot of central banks. It's a currency that our governments use to pay back the loans, massive loans that are taken. So even banks and the regulators, the central banks want to keep the dollars to themselves. So that which is needed somewhere. And that is why when you look at stable coins like USDC and USDT, you'll find that Africa has one of the largest usage of stable coins because of the shortage that we experience here and the high demand for it. And that is what we are going to focus our conversation on today. So why does remittance matter? It's because for a lot of economies, remittance contributes about 4 to 10% of their GDP in Africa. That is a huge number. You can imagine if your whole GDP is in the billions, between 4% and 10% of that comes from remittances. Just money coming in. Ile unatumiwa, if it's family from abroad, wakituma back home, if it's you, you know, in some circles watu wanaitanga black tax, support familia. ukiomoka uende majuu and you have to send something back to the family, hiyo ni remittance. Contributes a good percentage to the economy because if you send it back to your parents, they now are a bit more empowered, right? So that is why remittance is something that is very important in a lot of our economies in Africa. And on the flip side of it, a lot of us also do businesses abroad, where you have to buy something. You have to pay for a service. You have to pay for Netflix. The quotation is in dollars. You have to pay for YouTube Swizzy. I think YouTube was quote in Tanzania shillings. But still, a lot of the services you pay for are in dollars. Something on Amazon, you'll pay in dollars. So there's inbound remittance and there's still outbound remittance. Pesa bado inatoka. And for a lot of regulators, central banks, inbound remittance kila mtu anafurahia. Because that means there's money coming in, there's foreign exchange coming in, there's potential dollar coming in. Outbound, ndio shida. Today, payment challenge in Africa. This is comparing simple transactions with the most popular countries that have very diverse kind of environment when it comes to the fintech landscape. So if you look at it, on one side we have cost comparison, here we have speed comparison. And we are looking at South Africa, Kenya, Ghana, and Tanzania. Kenya and Tanzania are very, very similar markets. Very similar in how we behave, how things are done, very similar. Ghana slightly different, just below. South Africa very different. The reason I'm saying that, South Africa relies a lot on bank transactions and a lot on card payments. Kenya, Tanzania, Ghana, we rely a lot on mobile money. Ghana, the reason I'm saying it's a bit different is because still very cash driven. Whereby in Kenya and Tanzania, almost anyone can accept mobile money. You can pay even your Bajaj and Haraka or mobile money, number of Raya. It's not usually the same when you leave East Africa, by the way. You know, you go to the other African countries, you realize how backward things are. So you have to use cash to make payments. But anyway, let's look at it. So on the cost side, up top, the cheapest we have crypto, charges being 1% to 3%. To be very honest, this is even lower because again, allow me to plug my employer. On Binance, crypto transactions are charged at 0.05%. So much lower than what you see. Then we have mobile money, 1.5 to 5%. Kenyans in the room, because I know we are a few, you know one of the things we complain is how expensive M-Pesa is. You know, Safaricom on our side introduced this feature on their app where you can see how much you spent on M-Pesa every month or in 1 year. So you realize how rich you are. The truth. You go and check, you know, M-Pesa transactions in Dogodogo, Melipa pale 100, you know, pesa kidogo. Then you go check your whole year transactions and it's in the millions. Unashangaa, hey, kumbe I'm a millionaire na sijajua. But then you look at this other side where imeandikwa costs, transaction costs. Those transaction costs zinakimbizana na the value of what you sent it. That's how much money you're making. Unaona squeezy, the telcos are announcing profits every year. The biggest leader of profit is not you sending, is not you making calls, it's mobile money. Because it's between 1.5 to 5%. Fintech wallets also a bit expensive at this age because you're paying for convenience and also because most of the fintech wallets don't have direct integration. So unapata a fintech wallet has connected to mobile money, right, to provide a service to you. So mobile money imemcharge 1.5%. Yeye pia lazima aongeze profit yake. Akiongeza 1% inakuwa the full cost becomes 2.5. So closer to the 3 that you see there. Then mobile money transfer operators, you know, Western Union, the old school way, ile unaenda na ID kwa Western Union physically ndio uchukue pesa yako. Actually most of them are even about 10%. And then banks, 10% to 14% of your transaction value disappears as expenses.